Good afternoon, everybody. It's Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. It's November 27, 2024. And it's drizzling here. It's a little chilly. And suddenly my phone is wiggling. I can't imagine why. But, so there are couple of things. Thank you all for your comments about how egregious the mailbox and driveway incident are and were. And I agree with you. It's absolutely appalling. What's even more appalling, and we'll see within the next couple of days because it is a holiday, and of course, they always do these things around the holiday, is to see how the sheriff is going to respond. He did send his deputy out here. He did write information down. He did take photos, right? And he did remove the carcasses. But he did not look for fingerprints, and that was a very important point that somebody made. Didn't look for fingerprints. I mean, although we are a rural area, but they did not attempt to do that, to find out who the individual was. And when I mentioned to the deputy that, this is a federal matter, he says, well, I don't know how you're going to prosecute somebody for this unless you know who it is. And, I responded that it's not just this incident. There are multiple incidences, literally daily, weekly, monthly, over 5.5 years. So this is just one of many incidences. And when I told the deputy about the DirecTV erection thing with that said the Hillbilly Mafia and "do" on the cover, he asked me if I reported that to the sheriff's department. I said, no, I did not. I said, I'm getting tired of reporting things to the sheriff and him doing nothing. Okay? And they should absolutely go and arrest my neighbors. They should have arrested my neighbors next door when they tore down my gate and found the bullets underneath my no trespassing sign. But they did nothing. So, one of your comments is, and it's an important comment, and this is actually how things get done. Like when you go to the civil rights lawyer, he always tells people, he'll show you a video about something, and then he'll give you the name and address and phone number of the sheriff's department or whomever it is that's responsible for prosecuting the police officer or whoever it is. So a thank you, subscriber, for suggesting that I publish the name and address and phone number and email address of the sheriff. And then all you guys can write whatever you feel like writing on my behalf or about what you viewed and how you feel it should be prosecuted. And how the first people that should be interviewed would be Eddie and Scarlett Marks, followed by the Perkies, followed by Chris Bowles, and everybody else who's involved. And of course, because he's the sheriff, and this is a small town, he knows who's involved. But you can also ask him why he hasn't photographed the vandalism on my property, and why no one has been investigated or prosecuted yet. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out who's doing it. And if for some reason it's some private contractor, paid informant, or even some criminal at the county jail who's getting some extra kudos for doing it, sheriff always knows who's involved, and so does the county lawyer. So yes, I think that is a wonderful idea, and maybe it's time to draft a petition. Okay, maybe it's time to have a very public petition with graphic photos highlighting what's been happening here to me and how the sheriff's department has done nothing. No investigation, never sent anyone to photograph all the vandalism that's taken place here. Yeah, they've sent a couple of officers here over 5 years, some of which I've never received a report on, some of which never took photos or wrote a damn thing down. And when it comes to the neighbors who I have irrefutable evidence against, nothing was done. So thank you. That is something that I will consider. And if anybody out there has the extra time to help draft a petition Or if you want the name and address and phone number and email address of my local sheriff's department, I will post it down below. And this is not a requirement, but if you feel inclined to speak your voice about what has happened here with the raw meat, with the trespassing, the stuffing of my mailbox, with the directed energy weapon prank on Halloween, feel free to speak your mind about how egregious it is. And this is how, like the civil rights lawyer, he put out a video a few weeks ago about a police officer stopping a man and used excessive force. He had learning disabilities. He had a little bit hard hearing. He was just, going home, and the cops, this one cop, like literally put him in the hospital. Okay, so the police department didn't want to release the video, of course, but there were bystanders filming it, right? They didn't want to release the video because it's so egregious, and everybody knew this guy, that he was just a young, innocent guy who, he was doing karaoke at a local bar. And so, the sheriff there was covering for this abuser until the video went viral, and then a news station grabbed hold of it and broadcasted it. And then the officer had to leave, right? The officer had to resign. Well, he should have been fired. Well, I don't know exactly what happened. So he either resigned or he got fired. So this is how things happen. When targeted people, this is why we have to stand together. When we're not receiving the justice that we deserve, then we have to stand together and do things like this. Do letter writing. Look at what happened with the civil rights lawyer, and he's an attorney. He's an attorney, and they were gaslighting him and his client. They were gaslighting him until a newspaper grabbed it. The video went viral, and finally the officer either got canned or quit. So maybe that's what we need to do. Okay, that is, and we'll see. I will be requesting a copy of this incident report. I've got to get the incident report number and see what was written up and how they're going to investigate it. And it should be investigated. Because it could potentially involve animal cruelty. In addition, we don't know. So anyway, one of our subscribers, a targeted person who offered a testimony, and I'll link the testimony down below after I upload this. He received a response to one of his FOIA request applications, but let me read this to you, because when he requested the information, he didn't know specifically what statute or whatever to ask for. So he received this response, and then I asked him, I said, do you have a copy of what you asked for? So I'm just going to read to you the communication back and forth so you can check it out. He said, hello, Lorraine. Today I received a response to my FOIA request. It seems that I have not been able to ask for what I was looking for. They sent me the response in a PDF document. Maybe you or one of your subscribers can guide me how to request this document. What exactly do I have to ask for? And I'll read that to you in a minute. So Gabriel says, Lorraine, it turns out that I filled out the request without knowing what document I was looking for. I didn't specify what information I wanted. And I also asked them to speed up the process without any proof of urgency. I realized too late that there was a template where it said that I had to ask for a, quote, a query under Privacy Act, 5 U.S.C. Section 552A, and I didn't do it. I asked if I could make another request once the case was closed, and she said no, although I'm sure if I ask the right question, maybe I can, since you've done the procedure on several occasions, right? And I said, yeah, oh yes, I have requested information on several occasions. He says, by the way, Lorraine, have you ever met a TI who has been successful in requesting this information? So let me answer this question. A lot of targeted people have requested information. A lot of targeted people have received response letters to their FOIA requests. But most, if not all, that I'm aware of, and I don't know everybody, I don't know every targeted person, not everybody shares everything with me. You know, my memory may not remember what was going on in 2017. But everyone that I know received the same pat response, whether it was from the FBI, the CIA, the Department of Justice, whoever it was, the Attorney General. It was along the lines as we cannot confirm or deny that you are on any list. And basically they cite, because it's in the name of national security, we can't provide that information. So I'm going to read the response that he received, so you can hear for yourself. Now, what he wrote to, and now Gabriel lives in California, so maybe things are different. You know, all FOIA requests are a little different in different states, cities, locations. And he requested a FOIA of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services. Now, I have never requested anything through here. I'm an American. I was born here. And I have not FOIA requested Homeland Security, but I should. And I probably will at some point, you know. I just hate all of this stuff. I just want to live my life, you know, free of all of this harassment nonsense. You can't accomplish anything when you're dealing with these morons. So anyway, let me see here. So he received a response November 25. U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services, Homeland Security. Dear Gabriel, I won't say his last name. We received your request for information on November 21, 2024. Now that is a pretty quick turnaround. This letter is dated the 25th. And they received his request on the 21st. That's like incredible, okay? But you know, they've got a pat response also, so they just have to print these things out. The Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, 5 U.S.C. Section 552 specifies certain requirements for an access request. One of these requirements is that the request must be made in accordance with the agency's published FOIA regulations. The procedures for requesting access to Department of Homeland Security DHS records are set forth in DHS Regulations Title 6, CFR, Section 5.3, which are requirements for making requests. And then they say, see McDonald versus U.S. 4F3D 1227, 1236, 3D Circuit, 1993. Consistent with 6 CFR Section 521C, you must describe the records that you seek in enough detail to enable the department personnel to locate them with a reasonable amount of effort. Whenever possible, your request should include specific information about each record sought, such as the date, title or name, author, recipient, and subject matter of the record. If known, you should include any file designations or descriptions for the records that you want. And as a rule, the more specific you are about the records or type of records that you want, the more likely the department will be able to locate those records in response to your request. You have the right to file an administrative appeal within 90 days of the date of this letter. So you can file an appeal, Gabriel. 90 days. That's 90 days. So you can write a response to this letter. So by filing an appeal, you preserve your rights under FOIA and give the agency a chance to review and reconsider your request and the agency's decision. You may file an administrative FOIA appeal electronically. That's good to know. To USCIS through your online portal by selecting Appeal in the Actions drop-down window. You may also file an administrative FOIA appeal, blah, 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 to their office location in Lee Summit, Missouri. Both the letter and the envelope should be clearly marked Freedom of Information Act Appeal. Based on the information you provided, we have determined that expedited processing your request is not warranted. I agree with that. Unless you were going to court and you needed something, unless you have an attorney. Based on the information you provided, we have determined the blah blah is not warranted. The Department of Homeland Security Freedom of Information Act regulation at 6 CFR Section 5.5 E1 requires that you demonstrate that your request warrants expedited treatment because it involves 1. Circumstances in which the lack of expedited processing could reasonably be expected to pose an imminent threat to the life or physical safety of an individual. It's sort of like if you were arrested, right? And you were going to be in prison, you're going to have a determination against you, a sentencing or whatever, you would want this expedited. 2. An urgency to inform the public about an actual or alleged federal government activity if made by a person who is primarily engaged in disseminating information. 3. The loss of substantial due process rights. Well, that's an oxymoron, huh? We've all lost the due process rights. And number 4, a matter of widespread and exceptional media interest in which there exists a possible questions about the government's integrity which affect public confidence. Additionally, 6 CFR Section 5.5 E3 requires that a requester who seeks expedited processing must submit a statement certified to be true and correct, explaining in detail the basis for making the request for expedited processing. Furthermore, requests for expedited processing, and this is just standard, they already have this typed up, blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to skip over because you are not looking for expedited at this point. If you would like to discuss our response before filing an appeal to attempt to resolve your dispute without going through the appeals process, you may contact USCIS FOIA Public Liaison at U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services National Records Center, and then they give the address, and then they give actually an email address, which is really cool. A USCIS FOIA Public Liaison is an agency official to whom FOIA requesters can raise concerns about the service the requester has received from the agency's FOIA office. USCIS FOIA Public Liaisons are responsible for assisting in reducing delays, increasing transparency, and understanding the status of requests and assisting in the resolution of disputes. If you are unable to resolve your FOIA dispute through our public liaison, you may contact the Office of Government Information Services at the National Archives and Records Administration to inquire about the FOIA mediation services they offer. The contact information for blah 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 is the National Archives and Records Administration, Adelphi Road, OGIS, College Park, Maryland. And then there's an email address, a telephone number, a toll-free number, a fax number. Your case has been closed with no further action taken. If you wish to pursue this request, please provide the information described by the regulations cited above, which means that within 90 days, they need a response from you to appeal. And before you appeal, I would call and tell them that you made a mistake. You requested the wrong information. You forgot to add X, Y, and Z. And if they say that you can't ask for it again, then I would file the appeal and say that it was an innocent mistake. You know, people make innocent mistakes. You've never done this before, and you could say that. And if I remember correctly, maybe English is your second language, and you might want to say that English is your second language in that response. Your case has been closed. The requirements of filing a FOIA or PA request are also available for your convenience on our website, www.uscis.gov. And let's see, the person that signed it was James Baxley, Chief FOIA Officer, Freedom of Information Act, Privacy Act Unit. Okay, so all this kind of makes sense. You know, it's they're just telling you what their policies and procedures are for your requesting a FOIA. They need for you to follow. You must describe the records you seek in enough detail to enable the department to locate them with reasonable amount of effort. So again, I don't know what you asked of them. Did you ask if you're on a watch list? Did you ask if you're on a no-fly list? So that's what they're looking. They're looking for more specific information. And it could be that if you believe that you're on some list, approximately the date that you may have been placed on the list. If you've moved around, you might want to tell them that you moved. You might want to tell them that English is your second language, so that when you filed initially, you made a couple of errors. So I hope that helps, and maybe there'll be comments down below to help you a little better. Gabriel is in Los Angeles, California. So anyway, this is Lorraine, Alternative Homesteading. Please remember to hit the thumbs up. Helps the channel grow, get the message out there. And thank you, everybody. And anybody that wants to contact the Sheriff's Department and ask what he's going to do about this, I will leave all the contact information in the description section. No pressure, but feel free to share far and wide, because I sent my videos around to my email list this morning. I've received a few responses back, but it is a holiday. I don't expect everybody to listen to it at this point, but I'm not going to stop on this. This is actually very egregious, and I sent it to the same people that I sent the DirecTV Halloween prank to. So, again, this is Lorraine, and I'm going to sign off for now and upload this, and I hope you leave your comments down below for Gabriel.